Okay, it says we're live. Well, how you doing this morning, everybody? This afternoon, really, in this God blessed world that we live in. Well, as you know, the last couple of days, I think for about a week and a half, we've been streaming Alex Jones on here, but somehow the AI through YouTube has blocked that channel, and I think I think it's just because it got a number of subscribers on there, and basically what they want you to do is not subscribe, but just share the information. And I think once the number got grown, it grew to a certain point. I think that's what caused them to block that channel. Um, so we tried to share that information with you all, and we tried to get it out there. But as we know, as we can get it out there again, we will stream out again if we can. What I may do is just stream the show on a different channel for you all, so you all can watch it. But we'll name it something else and use different words so it won't pick it up. But from what I understand, they have intelligence where they look through your videos and they can actually see what you're actually doing, so they can actually know exactly what is being broadcast even without playing it, and the computer just goes through it because that's how the AI is in this thing. So it's pretty bad, people, when you think about it. But it just goes to show where we are in the AI war with artificial. It's artificial intelligence, just to let you know, short for AI. But we tried just to give you a little test to show you to see how long this thing could be streamed. To be able to send out Alex Jones videos, and it only took about 2 weeks before they shut it, blocked that channel, and removed it off the web. So that goes to show you that the AI is definitely alive and well, and it's working. So it was a sad thing to see that go, but like I said, you need to donate and subscribe because we're doing some weird things here to be able to bring things to you sometimes, and you need to help us to donate, money wise, monetarily, so we can continue to do that. And now it's been removed, so it won't be coming to you. But we'll keep you up to date as things go on. But anyway, today is Monday, the 24th of September, 2018. Uh, I don't know. So how y'all feeling today? You had a good day? I hope your day has been, you know, hope it has been pretty amazing for you. Um, but look at some of our posts. We've had a couple interesting posts here. You can look in the news on Facebook where I talk about marriage and family and how it is biblically. That was today. I sent that out about 3 hours ago. Lisa Haven talks about Julian Assange issues um, some eerie issues a eerie warning before his last interview communique was blacked out as associate goes missing in action. Um, so I don't know if he's missing in action or they just shut his thing down. Then from breaking news is Ted Cruz um, shreds veto over his radical left stances, his opinions. So that might be something to look at. Another thing from breaking news is Rosie O'Donnell, the lesbian girl, what she calls for Republican senators, says that some of them are too old to be in office. So, yeah, well, anyway. Then we have a video here, which is a follow up, talking about where a FEMA employee tells all. Says if a natural disaster were to happen due to an MVP or any kind of attack or any major thing that happened that broke out in the United States near the coast or anywhere, they don't have no money to set up camp or don't have any resources to set up. I know they showed some stuff on TV, but that stuff isn't always getting to everybody, even though they claim. Um, but like I said, I still haven't seen my resources yet from the hurricane, and and people around here they need stuff, and I don't know, a lot of places around here have not um, seen anything either. Um, China, though, this is from Dabu Seven, cancels U.S. trade agreement talks. Well, I don't know if they're an agreement as talks skirmish escalates. So you know. So that's just some of the in the news from Facebook.com from our page there on Facebook. Just some of the breaking news right now that's going on. Uh, but it's just you know some things are really hard to say, but you know. But anyway, my mom came back to North Carolina, and she said the roads were really clear, and she got back here safely this morning. So I was glad to say, and she said her place where she lives was not flooded, and none of her stuff was impacted, or none of the stuff was damaged. And the trees on around where her home, where her condo is, on the property where she lives, were not knocked down or anything. But she said coming down the road, she saw a bunch of trees down on the sides of the road and all before it got to where she lives. So it's pretty bad, uh, to say the least. But that's what is going on. So, but I don't know. What do you think? Do you, we are in uncertain times, but yet awesome times, as Alex Jones always used to coin the phrase. But it's true, we are. We got censorship galore going on. We got everybody wanting to be any kind of gender under the sun, even though there's really only two genders that really are in the Bible. And that's male and female. And then we have, you know, see, this morning we didn't really touch on saying that homosexuality marriages is wrong, and we didn't really touch on that men and women having sex outside of marriage. We touched on that, but it's wrong. But homo men and lesbian women shouldn't be engaging in marriage or sexual relationships outside of marriage, or they shouldn't even consider being married, because that goes against the Bible, because biblically that would be wrong. Because marriage is only recognized in the Bible being between a man and a woman. So if you got something to say, or you're mad about that, go talk to Jesus about that, because that's why you can go talk to him. But I didn't make the Bible, but that's what's in there. So God is the progenitor of it all. He's the creator, and He's the marriage is only recognized between a man and a woman, not two men, not two women, not a cow and a dog, or a cow and a girl, or a cow and a boy, or whatever. It's recognized between a man and a woman, or whatever gender you want to be. In between there, it's not recognized by that. It's only between a real man and a real woman that's been created in the image of God. Um, that doesn't mean that we're images of God. No, it just means we're like in His likenesses, because we have the ability to think, we have the ability to formulate ideas, we have the ability to create things. If God creates stuff, He makes it out of nothing. When we create things, we can take things and put water and put sugaring and flavoring and make Kool-Aid with food coloring, and we can make Kool-Aid, and we can make out of a piece of wood, we can make a nice shiny bookshelf or a table. But see, God can make something out of nothing, where we create things out of stuff, where God can totally make it from nothing. So that's the difference between us and man, which is really different. And man, like God, has free will. Like God makes choices, and so do we. The animals, the plants, the bugs, they don't have the ability to choose, but we do. Every day you get up, if anybody says to try to shut that down, says that the ability to choose is no longer, or is not true, that God has already preordained things, then why do you have to choose to decide what you're going to eat, where you're going to go, what shoes you're going to wear, what clothes you're going to put on, how you're going to drive, what detours or roads you have to take? Why are there differences in classes of people? Because there's free will. You can choose to be rich. You can choose to be poor by the way you live out your life. You can change your life by what you do. And people can still do it, even though the window is smaller, to get rich today. But people still are getting rich today. And it's not about because they're doing it for the money aspect. It's just the ideas that God has given them, has fortified in them the ability and resources to be able to help people. And some people that are rich are really doing just that. So to think about, to say the least, a few things there on that note, that when we're people are rich because God, blesses those who are rich. But, of course, a lot of people that are rich aren't happy because they don't always do what is good with all the resources they have. Instead, they hoard it for themselves instead of using it to give a lot of it away to other people. And that's what people are supposed to do with riches. Unlike the New World Order model, that has nothing to do with God said. God, they want to take all the money from everybody, rich, poor, middle class, and they want to just distribute it all across the world. And that doesn't work because it's just going to just crash the economy. And the New World Order is only going to benefit a few, and not everybody is going to get benefits. See, right now, more people benefit the way things are set up right now in America. With free enterprise, where we have a capitalistic society, where you can capitalize on business and commerce. But see, as they go to this bestiality system, that's really what I call it. Go to it's the A system right now, but then they go to move away from that to the B system, or the B system, or beast under the beast mark of the beast. Uh, you're not going to be able to buy or sell unless you have the insignia across your forehead or on your wrist or your hand right here, to be able to chip that's going to be in there to be able to buy and sell. And that's what all Christians are warned by God in Revelation to not get, because that is the mark of the devil, and we don't want to have that in our bodies or in our hands. Now, everybody thought the ID when it first came out, or licenses, photo ID was an early form of the mark of the beast. But as we see through research, it actually is not. But the mark of the beast will be a chip. The Bible even refers to this, and it will be either in your hand or in your forehead. In the same way, when God says, "Those who truly belong to me wear the mark not of the beast, but wear the mark of Jesus on their foreheads." It's talking about Christians bear that mark of Christianity on their foreheads. That's what's really referring to, not a chip. See, the devil always wants to make everything incentivized to make it artificial, because the devil wants to be God, because he is God over this world. But the devil wants to take away the credit from the God of the cosmos, the real true God, Jesus. And he wants to be a God, but he's really counterfeit, and he knows it. And that whole point, case in point, was proven when Jesus resurrected from the dead on the third day. And see, Satan wants to try to caliphate that even now these days. And that's why quickly men want to become God, and why they're, why people want to act like they're God, and why they have all this worldly like philosophy, or like evolutionary philosophy, survival of the fittest mentality. You'll do more if you're rich. Well, there'll be a lot of people that are rich and aren't prepared for an EMP attack. And even though they're prepared, they have no sense on how to keep their family alive or how to survive. Even though they may have all this stuff, even though they don't use it or share it or distribute it right, they still could die because they don't know how to manage their resources. So just because all people that are rich have more things to offer does not mean that they will survive, in the time of a disaster, in a timely, disaster or an event. So just because you may have more, the most toys wins mentality doesn't mean you're going to still win. Because if you're not in Christ Jesus, you still haven't won. You may die with a lot of possessions, but you can't take them with you. I mean, we see the Aztecs, we see the Egyptians, we see the, we see the, we see the Atlantans, we see all these different people that tried to take their possessions with them. And all those things are still encapsulated and rotten and broken down in the tombs in Egypt and elsewhere, where across the world where there are other pyramid-like structures. They couldn't take those things with them. They're still here. They believed in the afterlife, their things would go along with them into the spiritual realm. But of course, that didn't happen. They went into the spiritual realm is what happened. But their stuff remained back here in the physical realm here on earth. So, it's just a lot of what people believe. It's ideology based on man-made or devil-like narrative. Like we see people that believe in controlling or brainwashing people, like parents brainwash their kids when they're very controlling or overprotective, or want to lie and coerce things out of their children that aren't true, to the point to where they just give and just tell them what they want to hear, anything. because they lied and they just want to lie to the point to get you out of their family or maybe out of the group of people where you go to church. I mean, there's people that lie at churches sometimes that want to get rid of somebody because they're uncomfortable. And they'll go to these far extremes in order to do just that. You can be kicked out of a community where you live based on that, you know, because people hate you or have a problem with you because they don't like what you're saying because it's true and they don't want to hear it. And that's a lot what happened with, Alex Jones and what's happening with a lot of different other people. And they're depersonalizing people on the web for their truth views. And that's wrong. We have a right to say things just like they do. Everybody has the right, the fair arena approach is what I call it. I mean, everybody has equal spot time, equal time to say what they want to say. It doesn't mean we have to agree with it. It doesn't mean we have to like it. But banning people and taking them off the internet is not the right way to go about it. Now, if you ask, Google, they are anti-conservative, and from what we found out, and they are anti-freedom. Now, this YouTube, it says YouTube still, but really it's corporate too. It's about the establishment more so. They don't like people with free thinkers. Now, I don't know how long we're going to be on here. I hope we're on here for a long time because I like YouTube. It's been a good platform and a good soundboard. Even though the modifications, the monetization, I've not made a single cent off of that. I'm still waiting for my checks, Google, from that, from all the money you made from all the advertisement things you put on my videos, even still now. So, AdSense got an issue. And that's what happened with Alex Jones with a lot of people. So it's like you lose money there because you can't even advertise and put commercials on your videos. And then they want to censor you and they remove that ability right before they get ready to remove you altogether. And that's what's happening to Alex Jones, and that's what's happening to a lot of other people like me and everybody else. And that's totally wrong. So if they're not against uh, if they're not against what you're saying, then why do they have to remove you off the internet? And why do they have to associate you with other people's posts? Like if you have somebody on that's from the white supremacist or the KKK, why do they have to put you in that same group just because you talk to them? Because you just want to have a open dialogue and a rational discussion. It doesn't mean you follow their views. Yes, however, but these people are so crazy, but they'll just put you the way they put you in there, and that's how they set up the narrative to take you down. Is they'll try to put you in the same category, even though that's not even true about your channel and what it represents at all as a whole on face, because we don't represent any views of any people like that, even though we may have them come on to our shows and we may talk to them and do an open view with them, but we're not going with their ideas, so they shouldn't group us in the same category when we're nothing like that. Our channel is about freedom and about technology and about electronics and about ideals and freedom of information and freedom of media and independent news. That's what our channel really is about. What it's been about since it's been on the air since March of 2010. And we talk a wide variety or plethora of different topics and things. If you listen to our channel, watch it every day. We do, and there's a bunch of things I talk about on this channel. So it's never repeating messages or never dull, empty canned words. But just to give you an update that Paul Green and Liberty are merging, and looks like they're going to merge because they had an eat and greet service yesterday at Liberty where Paul Green came over to eat there, and it looks like they're going to merge, and I'm real excited about that with Liberty, and I think it's going to really help both churches out as a whole so they can kind of grow as a big dynamic family in Christ Jesus. And I think Grandpa would be happy with that merger, and I think it will benefit both Paul Green and Liberty as a whole. And as they form their church together as two different families, as they become one distinct family, as one big body of believers of Christ Jesus, and they change their name, I think it's going to really make them a new church, but it's also going to unite two churches even together all the more and make them closer and enmesh together as a church of believers. But it's like the devil wants to tear us down, doesn't he? There's so many ways the devil can tear us down, and he'll use it through manipulation, through lies. He's always using lies, putting things out there, making it so it looks like you can rationalize about it. Like we're talking about sex and marriage and how when it's not in the eyes of God, it's not blessed and it's not fruitful, and it puts a chasm between you and God when you're having sexual activity outside of marriage, when you're living together as single individuals in the same home, or when you have an oral sex, or when you have an intercourse together outside of marriage. There's nothing blessing or fruitful of that, because sex is supposed to be only blessed in a marriage situation. I asked the question: is sex trafficking wrong? The answer is yes. Uh, would you say yes or no? Is child molestation wrong? The answer is yes, without any hesitation on both of those answers. Um, but the devil likes to put that up there and say, "Hey, is it okay to do this?" And it's not okay. But the devil loves to do that, doesn't he? And to make excuses. And how he gets us is through the media, the television, the internet, the music, the radio, what people say, certain groups of chat rooms that are on the web. That's how we get our ideas, and the people who we hang around with as friends, and that's how we form our ideology or our theology on what we believe and how we base our ideas. Like some people think it's okay to have sex with kids underage, and it's not okay to have sex with underage children. Some people think it's okay to do that, and there's nothing okay about that whatsoever. Uh, Now, when they get to be 18 and they're an adult, that's a different story. But when they're underage, no, there's nothing okay with that at all. Um, but there's some people out here that really think it's all right to do that kind of thing, and it's nothing all right about it in any way, shape, or form. Um, and we talked about that love is blessed, and it's also a form of worship when God is in the mix. When you're doing all that, having sex and living together when you're married, and when you're having intercourse is when you're married. That's when it's really blessed, and when the union becomes one. And that's what it says in Genesis chapter 2, where the two become one flesh, because in a sense that's what happens when you're married. And it's talking about not just on a sexual level. That's one way you can look at it on a paradigm, but it's also talking about how you come together spiritually and how you come together as individuals too. Now, both of your weaknesses and strengths complement each other, so you can become, so you'll be better as a couple in Christ. And that's what it's talking about. And that's why so many things in the family are so broken up and so destroyed today, because people are the devil, and people have made a mockery out of the whole system of the design on how God really set this up and how he ordained it to be. You know, he wanted us to be people, men and women of God, by living under the principles of love and by guidance of the very guidance of the Holy Spirit. And that's what really directs us in our marriages, and as a vehicle to keep us in the right and doing the things of righteousness. Because when we have the attitudes of Christ in us, which is the Beatitudes in Matthew 5, verses 1 through 9, then that's where we show his true likenesses personified that emulate through us. And then people say, there's something different about you. And that's how people see it, you see. And that's what we want to show as us being real armor people that are wearing the armor of God that's in Ephesians chapter 4. And where we're wearing it and exercising it every day, because we're always constantly under spiritual attack, aren't we? I mean, we are. We are spiritually under attack every day, and we have to remember that. And of course, there's gonna be a lot of. That's why the world is in the shape and condition that it's in right now, because there's so much spiritually that's going on that's terribly wrong. In our churches, we have a lot of worldly stuff going in our churches more so than we have godly worship going on. We have where we trade the truth for a lie. It's like you can look at a lot of churches out here that look just like the world, because they have the restaurants, they have the clubs, they have the cappuccinos, and it's like they're there, teaching comfort and creature comforts, but they're not out there really reaching and really preaching the real true message of the gospel. And it's like they're just, having all this modern conveniences, but it's not really challenging the people to grow like the church really ought to be doing. A lot of churches aren't, and that's why they're lukewarm or they're totally dead as a whole. And that's why we all need to work together as ambassadors of the truth, and we need to safeguard our hearts and make sure that God is in our hearts and in our lives. That way we don't have these ideas saying it's okay to be with kids outside of underage kids, or that it's okay to have these weird ideas when it's not okay. When or to say that it's okay to, to um, have sex outside of marriage, or to be addicted to drugs or substances that we shouldn't be addicted to in the first place, because these things are not okay at all on their axis at all, in any way, shape, or form. And that's what we need to realize. Um, we are a people that are more motivated by the vices that are in our life. I said the vices that are really, really separating us from the Lord, or putting a wedge in between us. And we have to realize that the only way we're going to come back to the Lord is when we repent of all these things that have been controlling us. We have people manipulating people, controlling people, and God said that no man or woman should control or lord over other people, because God doesn't lord over people, and therefore we should not lord over each other either. I mean, it should be an equal exchange of authority when it comes between a man and a wife, or a man and a woman, or people in general. There's nobody that's a hierarchy, but under the devil's devices, and power of sin, there's always control, there's always domination, there's always oppression, and there's always separation. And so, but under God, we all work together unified. We all come together under God's lordship as one body. We all work together and unite together on ideas and fronts, and we don't separate, and we don't have no differences on those ideas, and we don't compromise on them. You see, and when we come together, that's what makes us a united body profoundly in the Lord, in the love of Jesus. And then all these crazy ideas about, having sex outside of marriage, or being addicted to substances and alcohol, or molesting kids, or being a pedophile, or being a predator, by dominating or overprotecting your children, or manipulating what your children think and say to the point to where they just say what you want to hear because that's what you brainwashed them to believe. Or, there may be a teacher that did this, or maybe, a family member, but all these things, or even a church leader that did this to their congregation, uh, too, all these things are what pull people and put a wedge, and also ultimately draw people away from God. And it just opens up the doorway to Satan's influence and powers, because that's what Satan is all about, you know. So, just to think about it, because anyone that thinks that all these things that I mentioned earlier, you know, is thinks it's okay to do those things, you're nuts, because it's not okay. No way, shape, or form is it okay. Now, when kids get to be an adult and they have a trash for somebody that's older, when they're an adult, the kid is a child, they're not a child anymore, they're of age, then they can be with a person that's older if they choose to be, but other people may have different opinions. Of course, people are going to always have their opinions. But like I said, the truth is what really sets people free. And it's just like I said, we got to do something about the sex trafficking that's going on, this pedophile stuff that's going on in our culture, because it's really getting bad. And we got to do something about the gay and lesbians too, because it's getting bad. I don't think the answer is to shun away from any of these people, but I think if there's a way we can help them, I think we should help them to help them overcome their sins, because that's what the Bible tells us, and that's what Jesus dealt with back in his day. So that's what we should be dealing with in our day, in our present day. But a lot of us, we kind of shy away from it, And I'm not telling you to go out there and do it all by yourself. You should always go take teams of 4 or 6 people with you. You should never go out there by yourself to this thing so you don't get yourself pulled into it. But you should always go out there with a prepared message or lesson or curriculum or track to hand out to people, so that they can actually, so you can be able to know how to help them as a guide, and have other people to lean on for support, so they can come in and have input to help you to be able to talk to these people who are homosexuals or lesbians, or people that believe that that 2 men and 2 women can get married and have gay marriage, when that's against what God is speaking about. It's against creation design. Or when people think they can have relationships with kids and in a way that kids should not have be exposed to, it's inappropriate. We got to talk to these people, because yes, there's something fundamentally wrong with them. It's not because they were born genetically to be positioned that way. It's a decision they made because it was based on a free will choice that they made to do that kind of behavior. It's not something that they were born innately to have. I get so tired of hearing that excuse why people were gays because they were born with a genetic gene. No, they weren't, because that's not even truthful. Because that scientist, there's no evidence that proves that one way or another. Because the only thing it says that science really proves is that it's a behavioral choice. It's a behavioral choice that one made to do that behavior, to molest kids, to traffic kids, uh, to have homosexual relationships, to do bestiality, to lie, to cheat, to steal, to murder, you know, to covet, to bear false witness. All these things are all things that people choose to do on a daily basis or choose not to do. And hopefully you'll choose not to do any of this stuff, to manipulate your kids or to manipulate a church body, to make a cult out of a body of church believers, you know. David Koresh back in the 90s, when it was a cult group, you know, a lot of, he was having sex with teenage kids, and he was having sex with many of the women in that group. I don't know if you realize that or not, but that's what he was teaching his body, that it was okay for him to have sexual relationships with underage girls and also with women that were married to the other men in his church flock. And that was totally wrong. But there's people teaching some crazy stuff in religions out here today. And that's all the more reasons why we need to be careful and safeguard our hearts. Like God warns us to safeguard our hearts and minds, to stay away from those kinds of things, because that's what can get us, pull us away from God. So we don't want to get in that slippery proverbial slope. We want to do the right thing at all times and not think about this type of stuff, and not be addicted to drugs, and not be addicted to substances that we're not supposed to be taking, unless we're taking stuff that is directed by a doctor because we need to be taking it, but not getting high off of it like a lot of people are doing with medications now. Taking medicines that they no longer need, but yet they're still taking them, or they don't need it at all. They just want to get high off of it and feel better, when really they're just taking it just for the high, not for the really benefit for it. But anyway, this is, we don't want to be like that. We want to become people who are of God. And when we become like God, if we put God's thinking first and foremost in our lives, then that will make us a true vessel that will be truly safe and protected around all the storms that are in our midst of all this deception that's going on, spiritually, ethically, morally, and socially and culturally. So, I just leave it with these thoughts. Thanks for listening. Take care, everybody. This live session is over with. It's Michael DeSilvis, preacher, evangelist from New Hunter Church of Christ. Take care. God bless America. I love you all. Keep America free. We got to stand together and remain strong. That's the only way we're going to beat this thing and keep this and get rid of the censorship that's going on. Take care, everyone. I love you.